Hello and welcome to the first in a series of talks, and there's going to be some practical videos about off-grid and off-grid living. So let's start at the beginning then. So what does off-grid and what does living off-grid mean? Well, initially in the modern context it applied to people who were sick to death of paying for water and electricity. So they came up with, they devised their own systems of which they could generate their own water supply and generate their own electricity through hydroelectric, through solar panels, etc. And it was a way of being independent from these systems that generated power. So let's have a look at this in a very simple way. So a grid is everything that encompasses a supply getting to your home. So if we're talking about an electricity grid, we're talking about the power station, whether it's nuclear, whether it's hydroelectric, whether it's coal or any of the other fossil fuels. So you've got the power station that's then connected to the pylons and to the wires that go to your house and ultimately to the company who sell you the electricity. So all of that together is what you could describe as a grid. Same with water as well. So you'd have your reservoirs, your pipes, your sewage plant, the pipes and the plumbing that lead into your house, the taps in your kitchen and your bathroom, and the company again that sells it all to you. So that's a grid. So it's a system, it's all of it. And if we look back in history, it's one of those things that you can't really say that there's been an actual starting point. In the modern era, people like to cite the counterculture movement of the 60s in the US as being the sort of the modern birth era of off-grid living, which to some extent I guess it is. But let's go back further in time. So if we go back to the English diggers in the 1600s, they had the principles of creating local resources, where it was local resources for local people, independent of hierarchy, and there wasn't such an emphasis on using money. So that's going back to the 1600s. Then if we go back to the US, there was actually a Homesteaders Act in 1892 for settlers who arrived from the various countries in Europe, and they were given land and they could set up and provide their own resources. So it's got quite a long history really, and as I say, there's no starting point as such. You could go back to the beginning of human technology and people wanting to be independent of any mechanisms of control over the daily resources that people need to live a reasonable life. So we beg the question of why is off-grid important in the times that we're living in at the moment? And there's lots and lots of reasons why it's important to me. I look out on a world where these corporations and companies are getting ever bigger and ever more powerful, and they're doing ever more ecological destruction to get these resources. They don't really give a shit about how much they charge people. People are having to work longer and longer hours to buy these basic resources that they need to live from day to day. So for me, it's not just a personal thing. There's millions of people all over the planet who are in the same predicament as me, and it's about being independent from those controlling mechanisms and those controlling economic systems. And the best way that we can do this isn't in solitude. For example, if it was left down to me to make everything in my life off-grid, I wouldn't be able to achieve it for two reasons. First, for the limitations of what I can do as an individual human being, and the cost, not only the economic cost but the cost of mental health. So these things, anything like this, needs to be done collectively. It's much better doing this as a community or as a collective, and there's lots of examples of this going on right now all over the world. So that's basically touching on what off-grid is. It's with a little bit of historical background and a little bit of a definition of what it is. So what I'd like to do over the coming months is I'm going to make a series of videos that show people elements of off-grid living that they can do at home that cost either nothing or where the cost is very low. It's a sad situation in the modern era that everything that exists to make our life easier and to make our lives more ethical has got a price tag on it. So in the UK, if you want to live on a small holding, and this isn't the case across the board, but generally you're looking at moving somewhere where the weather's good, where the land's good, and you'd have to have hundreds of thousands of pounds to do it. Most people haven't got this. That isn't to say that there isn't off-grid collectives in the UK that are managing in rural areas. Some are managing by doing everything collectively, but there's still that thing of having access to the cash and the land to do it. So my starting point really is for people who are landless and people who haven't got a great deal of money. So I'd like to thank everybody who's watched this introductory video, and I really look forward over the next few months into making as many clear videos as I can to show people how to move away from this control that the economic system's having on us. So thanks for watching everybody, look after each other, see you all soon, and bye for now.